A quick emergency show on Believe in White Sox. The 2026 MLB Draft Lottery has occurred, and for the first time ever, the Chicago White Sox will be picking first. That's right, the White Sox have the number one overall pick in next year's draft, and I could not be more excited because the White Sox have a guy that they should draft that is going to be the consensus, assuming he has a good season, number one pick in next year's draft. I could not be more excited. Roch Cholowsky out of UCLA is going to be a star for the Chicago White Sox sooner than later. He's a big league ready player. I envision that he could be on the club by 2027. He's a shortstop. He can play third. He can play all the other infield positions. You can take one of your other infielders, teach him how to play the outfield. The more shortstops you draft, the better, because the more shortstops you have, the more positional versatility that you have. And if you have somebody like a Roch Cholowsky that you can slot in at a variety of different positions, you could move Chase Mydroth somewhere. Eventually, when he gets ready, you could teach Billy Carlson to play another position. You could move Colson Montgomery to third. There are so many different problems that you can solve by having somebody like a Roch Cholowsky, and he is going to be the number one overall pick by the Chicago White Sox. If he's not, something went seriously wrong. Last year at UCLA, Golden Spikes Award semifinalist, Big Ten Player of the Year, 23 homers in 66 games, 74 RBI in 66 games, hit 353, on base of 480, slug of 710, OPS of 1.190. He also got hit by a pitch 21 times, in addition to drawing 45 walks. He only struck out 30 times in 252 at-bats. This dude is a stud, and he is in line to be a member of the Chicago White Sox. And I'm not even going to throw out any other draft possibilities. None. Because when we talked about the draft 2 years ago, when we first took over as the host of this show, I had told you from the start that Travis Bazzana was going to end up being the number one overall pick. I said that well before the draft even happened, and sure enough, the Guardians took him number one overall. That is on record. And so I am fully confident, given what all the experts say, given what he's expected to do in his junior season at UCLA, the fact that he was a catalyst in leading the team to the College World Series last year, Roch Cholowsky is going to be a part of the White Sox organization, and that should excite everybody. This is a can't-miss prospect and is going to make an impact right away. Right away. And when you see what the White Sox are building, the fact that you've got big league ready guys in Colson Montgomery and Chase Mydroth that are already integrated, the fact that you may not have to keep Montgomery at shortstop, you can move him somewhere else. Maybe Miguel Vargas moves to the outfield, which, quite frankly, now that you have an overload of infield positional talent in your organization, this is obviously assuming that the White Sox sign Roch Cholowsky, maybe you teach him how to play the outfield because you're deficient outfield-wise. And then when Braden Montgomery comes up, oh my goodness. And then whatever return you might be able to get for Luis Robert Jr., holy smokes. I mean, the possibilities for what this could do for the White Sox are endless. They're endless. And that, to me, is what is the most exciting part about what this draft signifies, is that the White Sox are set up to succeed in the future. You've already seen some of the success points from this past year. Now, granted, there's still a lot of development to do, but this guy, Roch Cholowsky, is the person that everybody said should be. And I remember at Big Ten Network, our baseball analyst, Michael Huff, who, by the way, played for the White Sox, saying that this guy's going to be the number one pick in the draft. He said that during the middle of last year. And now the White Sox have a chance to put him in their organization? I could not be more thrilled. I could not be more thrilled. This is the stroke of luck the White Sox needed. Now, The White Sox had the highest odds based on the MLB Draft Lottery rules. The second highest odds were the Twins. Now, the Rockies, the Nationals, and the Angels were ineligible to be inside the top 10 based on the new MLB tanking rules. So the White Sox had the number one odds. The Twins had the number two odds. Now, the Twins ended up with the third pick. The Tampa Bay Rays, who had the seventh best odds, ended up with the number two pick. The Twins ended up with the number three pick, I should say. And the Giants, who had only a 1% chance of getting the number one overall pick, end up with the fourth pick. And the Pirates, who had the third best odds, they end up with the sixth pick. The Royals, who were only at 0.8%, end up with the sixth pick. Right, I should say the Pirates ended up with the fifth, the Royals with the sixth. Then the rest of the draft order goes Orioles at 7, A's at 8, Braves at 9, Rockies, Nationals, Angels, who were ineligible to be inside the lottery at 10, 11, and 12, Cardinals at 13, Marlins at 14, D-backs at 15, Rangers at 16, and Astros at 17. I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon about all this. This is amazing. I can't believe that the White Sox are going to add a future big leaguer. Like, I'm calling it now, like he's a future big leaguer. Like, this is as can't miss as you can find. And unlike somebody like an Andrew Vaughn who plays first base, where you could be concerned a little bit about athleticism, you could be concerned a little bit about being able to develop other skills. Roch Cholowsky has all of these skills. He is a great defensive shortstop. He hits for power. He hits for average. He doesn't strike out. He does everything that you want in a big league shortstop with power, and the White Sox are going to flipping get him. And I could not be happier. Now, there's a lot still to come from the baseball winter meetings, and we're going to keep this relatively short today because there's going to be a Rule 5 draft tomorrow. And if we know anything from last year's Rule 5 draft, is that the Rule 5 draft is going to have an impact on next year's White Sox. Shane Smith and Mike Vassell were both Rule 5 picks. Now, Vassell was not a Rule 5 pick by the White Sox, but he was a Rule 5 pick and became probably their most consistent piece out of the bullpen, while Shane Smith ended the year as the number one starter in the White Sox rotation. So the Rule 5 draft is going to be extremely important. Extremely important to what the Sox are going to end up doing in terms of constructing next year's roster. Now, there is one move that was made official today. It was rumored to be happening, and it is now official. Former first-round pick by the New York Mets, Anthony Kay, has signed a 2-year deal with the White Sox with an option for a third year. Now, if you're wondering, Anthony Kay, I remember him with the Mets, and I remember him with the Blue Jays, and I briefly remember him with the Cubs. Anthony Kay is somebody that has not had a great big league career. In parts of 5 big league seasons, his ERA is 5.6 in just 85 innings of work, 44 appearances, 7 starts. So you're probably wondering, well, why are you excited about this? And the fact that he signed a 2-year, $12 million contract. Like, does this seem like a waste of money? Well, this is the exact same model as the Eric Fetty model. He went over to Japan, and he was great in Japan. With Yokohama in 2024, he had a 3.42 ERA in 136 and 2/3 innings. And last year with Yokohama, in 155 innings, he went 9-6 with a 1.8 ERA. He had 130 strikeouts to just 41 walks. His whip as a starter was 0.98. He had a whip under 1 as a starting pitcher. Now, I understand that the Japanese league is a lot different than, and granted, this is the Japanese Central League. This is not the NPB. But Those are numbers that say that this guy knows how to pitch. And at age 30, this is somebody that can fill a hole in your rotation, in theory, without costing that much. So this is the type of move you'd expect from the White Sox. It is a buy low, sell high move if the White Sox end up getting out of him what they hope to get out of him. And what they hope to get out of him is a left-handed starter, which the White Sox, for the majority of last year, did not have. Martin Perez was supposed to be that veteran lefty, and he was hurt a majority of the year. This was a White Sox team that was mainly a right-handed rotation team for most of last year. So I like the signing. I don't think anybody is knocking down the door to sign Anthony Kay, but you know what? If he can contribute and be a left-handed bridge to eventually Noah Schultz and eventually Hagen Smith, then I love to see it. I love to see it, and I could not be more excited that the White Sox are making some moves. There will be more moves, and we will find out exactly what the White Sox are going to do in the Rule 5 draft at some point in the very near future. I think we'll probably do that show on Thursday because I've got some things to do tomorrow night. But the White Sox have the number 1 overall pick. Rejoice. Be glad. Roch Cholowsky now batting or on the clock or whatever. This is Believe in White Sox.